the Treasurer General of Blackfirst, LandFirst. I would like to welcome everyone, all the journalists from all media houses present today. The President will read the statement, and then after we will allow questions, and then the President will also answer those questions. Thank you.
Thank you, DP, TG. And also welcome to everyone. This media conference would address two topics, if you like. The first is to respond to the leadership feud, if you like, between two prominent prophets, black prominent prophets in our nation. And then the second part would be to deal with or to react to the announcement made yesterday by the Minister of Land Affairs, Minister Thoko Didiza. And I will, as the Treasurer General, Comrade Yapi, has indicated, I will read the statement and then allow for questions. Blackfirst LandFirst notes that our country right now is engulfed in a deep moral, political, economic, and leadership crisis. Our people are hungry, and those in power don't care and act with arrogance and contempt. Corruption has become our daily bread, as the friends and sponsors of President Ramaphosa are allowed to loot, and his political enemies or opponents inside the ANC are hounded in show arrests to effect humiliation instead of justice. We all have seen how the so-called hawks are running around arresting people, but it's done in such a way that it's staged. So they call the media brings the cameras outside, they go in, they arrest the person, and in this way, of course, try to humiliate instead of just doing what is right. And it is clear that those who have been arrested in this manner are those that are seen as opponents of what we call the Stellenbosch agenda. So we see this as show arrest. The judiciary is compromised, as we see how openly biased it has become against those perceived to be proponents of radical economic transformation. From the public protector to President Zuma, we all see how the judiciary is openly biased. This is part of the crisis that we are saying our nation today is facing. The public protector, all the time, she's raising important questions of corruption, of the powerful, of the president, and so on. She, every time when she goes to court, they try to humiliate her, they try to punish her. That are in the good books of white noble capital don't account. The same with President Zuma. We've seen how the Zondo Commission has become the Uzonda Uzuma Commission. Uzuma Commission. Judge Zondo is openly biased. So the rule of law is banded to be the rule of white noble capital. If you are black and perceived to be a threat to white noble capital, you are criminalized. Our nation is watching with disbelief and shock how human trafficking has become endemic. Human trafficking, the abduction of children and women, has become a serious problem in this country. And our politicians are either quiet or they downright deny that our children and women, or the women of South Africa, are abducted and disappeared into the underworld. Minister Bedicele is not ashamed to tell all Trump-like that human trafficking is fake news. Furthermore, right now, as part of this crisis we're talking about, over 3 million black people have been added to the unemployment list since lockdown up to now. More than 3 million black people have actually joined that list. On the other hand, government is even playing games with the 350 Rand relief fund of COVID. Our people are unemployed, losing jobs, poor, hungry, and even the 350 Rand is not coming through, including the UIF support. We saw the disappearance of 500 billion Rand of the COVID-19 funds in 3 months into the pockets, we believe, into the pockets of the sponsors of the CR17 campaign. In other words, this 500 billion Rand, which was designated for COVID-19, has actually been disappeared, as we say, into the pockets of the sponsors of the president of this country. Remember, the president of this country came to power through a sponsorship. So we are a nation in deep trouble. That is why we can't afford to see some of our most important leaders in the faith community at war with each other. If you see, and it's not all the crises that we have described. We have not spoken about racism, open racism, how individual acts of racism have become reality in this nation. We are a people in pain and a people in crisis, and therefore we can't afford to see our prominent faith community leaders at war with each other. Black First believe in the principle of peace amongst blacks and war against the enemy. This principle enjoins us to seek peace among blacks whenever there is conflict. We seek this peace with justice for the wronged. This principle is informed by the African dispute resolution process, which encourages restorative justice instead of retribution. The wronged must be acknowledged and restituted. Black First Land First notes with concern the sustained public attacks on Prophet Bushiri by Prophet Mboro recently. It makes no difference that what the source of these disagreements are, but these attacks only serve to divide and weaken the Black independent ministry. Professor Mboro's actions, while may be informed by good intentions, unwittingly makes him an agent of white power that seeks to destroy the Black independent church. It is no secret that the common enemy of both men of God face is the systematic attempt at taking over the Black church. We saw recently how Ray McCauley, for instance, tried to manipulate the commission responsible for religious affairs in his unholy quest to control the Black church. The Black church, independent church, where Prophet Mboro operates and Prophet Bushiri, is under attack. That is why we came out and stood with Prophet Bushiri when he was attacked, only because successful young a leader. That's why he is being dragged into courts. When you look at those charges, you can see this is all trumped up so that he's attacked, that all Black successful leaders are attacked in this nation. We as Black First Land First stood and we continue to stand with Professor Bushiri as far as that attack is concerned. And so when this happens now, these attacks now coming from Prophet Mboro, they then give credence to this unfounded attack and give people like Ray McCauley want to control the Black church power and a window to do so. We all know there is a drive to capture the independent Black church by white-controlled establishment churches, which are increasingly being abandoned by Black people. So Black-on-Black squabbles open the door for the enemy to enter and to harm Black people. BLF takes Black unity very seriously. In the attacks that we've seen from Prophet Mboro, xenophobic utterances have been made. Pastor Mboro has on several occasions called on Prophet Bushiri to go home. no stage have Prophet Mboro called the Church of England and the Catholic Church to go back home. This is a concerning development that must be checked immediately. BLF condemns xenophobic statements aimed at stirring black-on-black hatred among Africans living in South Africa. We must find solutions to our differences without degenerating into the agenda of the enemy, because the enemy wants us divided and fighting. BLF furthermore knows that Prophet Bushiri is in South Africa legally and has not broken any immigration laws. And as such, calling for his deportation is purely Afrophobic statement. This is unfortunate. We call on Prophet Mboro and Prophet Bushiri to turn their attention to help us fight white monopoly capital. It's white monopoly capital that controls every piece of wealth and land in this country. Prophet Mboro stands to gain nothing for black people by being against another black person. The two men of God together united a powerful force. If you imagine Prophet Mboro and Prophet Bushiri together, standing together, young, energetic, gifted leaders or in their area of life. If they were to stand together and help us as black people in this country going through this crisis that we have described, this would be a really big, powerful influence to help black people in general. So that's why we ask them to set aside any differences and help us to fight white monopoly capital, which is the enemy of our people. So we say the two men of God together united are a powerful force that can help us fight the common enemy that has our land and that has our wealth. The black church has to show leadership and maturity. The first act towards such unity is capacity to resolve issues among the church leadership through a process controlled by the church itself, not running to courts, giving white people the opportunity to perpetuate these fights and in this sense the divisions. As Africans, black people, let's solve our own problems amongst ourselves. If the church has no dispute resolution mechanism to deal with difficult situations amongst the church leaders, how can it administer to the needs of the flock? Pastor Mboro must lead by example and show he is a man of God. In the same vein, we expect the major one to do. The issues raised by Prophet Mboro need to be addressed in a genuine way, not to be used to grandstand and to attack other churches. There must be justice for the victims. Black First Land First stand with the victims all the time, and we stand with the poor. And I suppose at this point I can also report that Prophet Mboro has contacted me at the beginning and said people have approached him who have issues or complaints against Prophet Bushiri, and I must come and listen to these people. And I said, yes, I will do it. Unfortunately, it was a short notice, I was unable to do so. I just want to put it out that Prophet Mboro has reached out to me. Subsequently, however, how this whole issue has been dealt with does not satisfy us, it concerns us, it shows division, and it is been handled in our view in a manner that weakens both Prophet Mboro and Prophet Bushiri. We can resolve this matter with justice for those that have been wronged. The wronged must not be paraded in the media spectacle. You know, if you help people, help them. Don't use their pain to push other agendas. BLF asked the prophets to stop the public spats and go into deep meditation to find good ways to deal with the concern being raised. BLF shall write letters to both Prophet Mboro and Prophet Bushiri asking that an alternative dispute resolution process be explored and to be addressed, so to address these matters. As Africans, we always have room to engage and resolve matters in a restorative way instead of seeking retribution. We have confidence that the two men of God will heed our humble counsel. We say no to black on black violence. We say yes to black unity. We really must emphasize that we want Prophet Mboro, we want Prophet Bushiri united with us, black people in this country in particular, to deal with the real serious burning immediate issues. We want to see prayers being led against human trafficking. We want to see joint prayers being led against abuse of our children, abuse against women. We want to see Prophet Mboro, Prophet Bushiri together praying and leading to make sure that our politicians stop being agents of the devil, denying our people our land, our wealth, denying our people the right to live in dignity. That is what we want to see. We don't want to see these great Africans, these great men of God, fighting amongst themselves. It breaks our spirits at a time when this nation needs such people to stand up and to give guidance. So we hope coming Sunday we will see prayers for unity, prayers for peace, prayers for justice. This is the hope of Black First Land First. We have a duty as Black First Land First to unite Black people whenever there is differences. And I must also emphasize that we as Black First Land First are friends with both Prophet Bushiri and Prophet Mboro. We go to both churches. We have been prayed to by both the great men of God. And so we are pained when we see that these men of God are the end goal. And so we ask Prophet Mboro to please heed our call, we humbly ask him, and some of you must have seen that recently we even had a program with Prophet Mboro, when we had a campaign on the graves. Those graves that the government was opening to bury us. Prophet Mboro came through, we went to some of those graves, we prayed together, we got affirmation. So we are a family, and a family at war with itself will not make progress. So there you are. As far as the call for peace amongst these two great men of God, we have made our statement clear, and we, as we say, we will write letters to them and we'll keep the nation informed about how they respond. We want them united because we want to address the crisis affecting our people. And this crisis is deep. Abantu bethu basenkingeni enkulu kakhulu. Kasibili riyalekhala bahalake. Khale ba modimo, riyalekhala bana beshu. Riyalekhala re le kgopela. Siyanicela ba malubofatsi. Ntate Mboro malubofatsi mhlompheli. Whatever is himself. Now, let me turn to the last part of our intervention today. That is our response to the government's land offer. Yesterday, as you all know, the minister was on the news saying that they are offering land to the people. Black First Land First reject the insult announced yesterday by the Minister of Land Affairs, Ms. Dorothy Diza. The government is not serious about them addressing the land question in South Africa. It's almost 5 years now since there had been talk of land expropriation without compensation. That process has been stalled, and the minister, Ms. Diza, is the minister who is heading the committee which have the responsibility to push this process of land expropriation forward. The minister is now giving land which the state says it does not want. It's not using. It's land flying fallow. This is the same principle we have rejected of giving black people reject land. So unused land, land flying fallow, land that is nobody wants, that is the land that they will give black people. From what the minister is saying. Now, I just want us to go to a slide which will show just what an insult this is. Around the, okay, yes. South Africa is about 124 million hectares. And if you look at that slide. And our government is offering us 700,000 hectares. That is about 0.6%. of the total land. Now, it's not even 1% of the total land in this country. That is not even 1% of the total land in this country. And the shocking thing is, they say they will give us this, they will advertise. And then after advertising, we must apply like tenders. And after the tenders, they will determine who gets there. Just like the 500 billion, they will give to their friends. So this is a process of taking our land and giving to their friends. But even that, they even themselves, they are stealing so little, is that you must take them to jail just for being such bad thieves anyway. You see, we are asking for land expropriation without compensation to address the land question in a country where 80% of the land you see there, 80% of that land, the total land of South Africa, is owned by 35,000 white families. 35,000, we're a country of about 58 million people. Only 35,000, about Stadium. If you took all the white people who own 80% of the land and tried to make them fill the stadium, they cannot fill the stadium. But our minister is providing, and she has the guts to call a press conference to tell us that they are offering a 0.6% and we must apply, and then after applying, and so on. So we reject this. No, we won't buy our land back. We call on the minister to say what has happened to the land expropriation without compensation process. We reject this offer to sell our land back to us. This stand by Minister Didiza is nothing but a ploy to facilitate corruption by giving state land to their friends. We call on Mzwandile, Mayor Mzwandile Masina, to stop the eviction in Kurleni. We call on the police to act. In the case of unlawful evictions, we will open against Mzwandile Masina. BLF will be announcing a program of action to address the national crisis, to give our people hope. We hope all leaders will join us in the quest to find solutions that will address the plight of our nation. It is in this vein that we hope to stand side by side with Prophet Bushiri, Prophet Mboro, in saving the black people. Thank you.
Thank you, Comrade President, for the statement. Now it's time for questions. Anyone wanna go first? We have a question there.
Good afternoon. My name is James Ndogo. I'm an independent journalist. I've got one question that I'd like to know. As the president of BLF has said, getting the letters, have you written the letters, or are you still going to write the letters to the prophets?
Okay, thank you, my brother, for that question. The letters have not been written, but certainly they will go probably tomorrow, latest, but they've been drafted. They've not been sent to them. We wanted to sensitize them today about that they must expect these letters, they're coming. And in those letters, we simply ask them to look at this alternative dispute resolution mechanism instead of going to courts. And in resolving all that, we will understand the source of the problem, including the complaints that the Prophet Mboro is saying is trying to address. So we will share the outcome of their response sometime next week. Hopefully the responses will be positive. And at this point, I just want to check, there was some media house that wanted to do a live at 12, if we're still okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Another question, I suppose.
Maybe we have 4 questions and then the president will answer after. Yes, Linda.
Good afternoon. My name is Melissa. I'm an independent journalist. So my question is,
Any other question?
Hi, my name is Tiliso. I would like to ask two questions. The first one is, will BLF be registered for next year's coming elections? That's the first one. And the second one will be, as things stand, let me just, what is the update? I know that BLF has opened a case against the President Ramaphosa. As things stand, what's the update on the case against the President of the country? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other question?
Yes, my name is Felix. My question is, I will dovetail it into his last question about the case for the president. I wanted an update as well, and to find out if BLF is going to continue with the court case. That is one. And then secondly, what are the timelines for the case between Prophet Bushiri and Mboro? Because he has just said that there will be letters written to that effect. In a case where we have a tug of war, one says no, one says yes, what's going to happen? And then what are the timelines are we looking at? It's quite a sensitive matter, that's what I want to know.
Okay, thank you for the question. Any other question before we close for this round of questions? It seems like there's no one else.
Okay, thanks for the questions. The first question was, the second question rather was, what about the victims? As we say, in the alternative dispute resolution process we're suggesting, we will obviously have to listen to the victims, and together with these men of God to find a solution that will be just, that will bring restorative justice, that will make sure that we don't leave our people not being addressed, and also to clarify. Of course, in the letter that we will write, we will deal with an independent mediator to make sure that the process is fair for everyone. So, at the crux of this process is the victim, the justice for the victim. Then there is the question about will BLF be registered for elections. The answer to that is that we are very confident that BLF will be registered. We are not going to allow Freedom Fund Plus, land thieves, racists, extremists to shut down the voice of the people. Right now, Black First Land First is the only consistent voice of black people, and that's why it has been deregistered. So we are starting a process. We will certainly, by the time we go to the December polls, we will have an announcement to make. So we are very confident that our movement called Black First Land First, with its agenda of black liberation, will certainly be back to represent our people for 2021 local government elections. Then there was an update on the Ramaphosa case. We opened a case against President Ramaphosa related to the, basically, 1 billion rand CR17 donations, and the Hawks are working on it. Every week we're getting an update. In fact, I will certainly today, I realized that I've not spoken to the Hawks. I will certainly today go back and check what is progress. We will keep on doing this, but if they can't give us good progress, we'll simply ourselves take the matter up. We are already working on this possibility that they will not prosecute, and then we'll go the private prosecuting route. Then the question from Philip was the case against Prophet Mboro. Prophet Mboro and Prophet Bushiri. This case we know is in court. We know that it was an agent application. We know that the agent application did not go through, but the substantive questions have not been before court. So it was on a technicality that the matter was not heard. So the matter will still be heard, and it's going to just be ugly and dirty in our view. We hope once they receive the latest letter tonight, tomorrow, both men of God would consider subjecting themselves to this alternative dispute resolution process, in which case we will ask them to remove the matter from the court, and we deal with this as Africans and black people. We have done this before, we can do it again. I mean, look at Rwanda. Rwanda is a good example where black people were murdering each other. They had to find a solution which was not a court-based solution. In South Africa, it is worse. When you take your matter to court, you remove it from your own influence and give it to white people. And white people have an agenda against you. So we hope that our council will be heard. And this is not just for the prophets. This is something what every black people who are at war, at conflict with each other should consider. Because we are subjecting ourselves to court processes which are anti-us. So that is, we hope that your time frame question is simply that we hope that they will respond to us. We hope that by Sunday already the churches will have some, as we call them, we ask them that there must be prayers for peace, for unity. We'll see a positive spin already. So yes, that's where we are. But we'll keep the nation informed and we'll probe and we will report those who don't want to find a solution to a process which we believe is very open. We are very unhappy when we see Prophet Mboro speak like that about the Prophet Bushiri. I don't think it is that. You know, there was a time, and there's such a beautiful picture of them together. You know, because there was a time they had some kind of a conflict before, and then they made peace, and it was very satisfying because we want black people together. It does not matter whether you agree with their doctrine, whether with their religious spirit, but the mere fact that they are black people and they are at conflict with each other, that alone calls for us to do something, and that's what we're doing. Okay, it looks like we've come to the end of your press conference teaching.
Thank you, President. Don't hijack. I'm the one who's supposed to close. Thank you, everyone, for attending the press conference. Thank you so much. We've come to the end of our conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.